He-Man and the Masters of the Universe was a massively popular animated TV series that ran from 1983 to 1985. It centers on Prince Adam, who transforms into the powerful He-Man when activating his sword and defends his realm of Eternia from the evil forces led by Skeletor. Although it only spanned 2 seasons, there were 130 episodes produced, and the toy line that the show was based on was one of the biggest sellers of the era, and the franchise maintains a heavy cult following to this day. Of course, a video game adaptation came from all the merch, in this case for the Atari 2600 and Intellivision, under the title Masters of the Universe, The Power of He-Man. I'll be specifically looking at the 2600 version in this video, which was released in 1982 by M Network. First and foremost, the intro sequence is awesome. You don't get music and graphics like this on the Atari 2600 very often at all. The game consists of 2 different segments, the first of which you'll play as He-Man, of course, riding his Wind Raider through Eternia, blasting enemies in a shoot-'em-up style game like Defender, on your way to Castle Grayskull. Once you land there, the next segment begins where you face off with Skeletor. This time you maneuver He-Man through the gaps in the moving walls while dodging Skeletor's lasers, and then slaying him when you get through. And then you move on to the next level, which is a more difficult version of the same loop. If you feel like the first couple levels are too easy, you can use the left difficulty switch to toggle between starting at level 1 or 3, and there are 8 altogether. The right difficulty switch does something I didn't see coming at all. It pauses the game. I'm not sure if this is the first ever pause function in a video game, but it's definitely one of the earlier ones at least. The other option you can adjust is whether you want your gun to fire a single shot or rapid fire. Conventional wisdom would suggest that the rapid fire is the easy choice here, but the single shot does have more range, so it's not as obvious as you might think. So during the flying portion, you'll deal with these little pricks called warp trackers that attack horizontally, while the energy bolts attack you vertically from below. In both cases, these attacks hone in on you like heat-seeking missiles. You have to be quick to get away, but the method you have to use is strange. Basically, you have to turn yourself around and go in the opposite direction, then quickly spin back again to line yourself up with the tracker, or to evade the energy bolt's attack. You can also attack the energy bolts yourself by dropping bombs on them, which, if you miss, you can shimmy back and forth to lure these bastards into the hole it creates, which is a nice touch. It's not often in games that you get essentially a consolation for missing your enemy in a shooting game. The problem, though, is the awkwardness of having to spin back and forth to shake off both these hazards, especially if they're both coming at you at the same time, and you find yourself in between them. It's not much in the way of a safe spot. Either you're going to get hit with a tracker, or backtrack your way right into an energy bolt. It does take some getting used to, but even when you do, I wouldn't say that it's a much better playing experience. That being said, it looks worse than it actually is. You get 1-hit deaths, and you start with 3 lives, so you can only get hit twice and survive the 30-mile trek to Grayskull. And you can monitor how close you are with the mile marker, which is also a nice touch. And it tells you which direction the castle is in, because you can go right to left as well. You might think that it should be easy to remember which direction you're going in, but you'll be spinning around so much that you might lose your sense of direction on where you are in real life while playing this. The controls are responsive though. I just find the whole spinning evasion thing a bit weird. Skeletor battle reminds me of that segment in Sword Quest Earthworld where you have to walk between the beams, but this time the walls move from side to side on top of the gap shifting. Plus you got fucking Skeletor firing at you at the same time. You can block the lasers, but you also can't make contact with the walls or you'll get sent back, and you're momentarily slowed down. This also causes the walls to move faster, which means the more you fail, the more difficult it's going to be to finish this. The good news is that you won't get a game over. You just keep getting sent back to try again until either you're victorious or you get so sick of playing and shut it off. When you do win, you get a nice end sequence. So the game is bookended with great visuals, although they're pretty bland throughout the gameplay portions. Overall, this isn't a totally unplayable game, and those beginning and end sequences are really good, but it definitely lacks in the fun factor department. I will say, though, that having the two segments does at least give the game some variety, because M Network could have phoned it in and made this shooting segment the whole game, and with the lack of unique hazards and enemies, it would have been quite redundant.